Welcome to C.O.R.E Conversations, a City of North Mankato podcast. Join the conversation to learn what's at the core of North Mankato.
Welcome to C.O.R.E Conversations podcast. This is put on by the City of North Mankato. And my guest here with me today is Kevin McCann, the City of North Mankato Administrator. Welcome, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks for having me on this inaugural C.O.R.E Conversations.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. This has been kind of a thing that I've wanted to do for North Mankato to promote so many aspects of the great things we're doing in the city. And I think maybe just to start out, before we talk a little bit about kind of our backgrounds, but maybe if we just start a little bit about what this is going to be about. And I can kick it off. You can kind of add a little bit in. But we want to base it on our just our beliefs. And we've got our core beliefs that we went through for the workshops we had for our strategic planning, right?
Yep.
And maybe you want to touch on the things that the staff and the council and all of us work together on to kind of provide new direction on our values.
Yeah, close to a year ago, we had those retreats where we went and neutral site away from City Hall. Wasn't a full-blown retreat, with staying away from anywhere, but we had this visioning session where we came up with new mission, vision, and values for the city. So the mission is provide a clean, safe, and vibrant community experience by planning for the future in a dynamic and inclusive way. The vision being building a superior place to play, work, live, and thrive. Then our values being an acronym for CORE, care for community, outstanding service, respect for resources, and equality. And that turns into the podcast is the C.O.R.E Conversations, essentially bringing all those values together with different guests and speakers and things like that.
Yeah, we're trying to figure this out, and I think Anna and I were talking, and we brought it up to you too, and we thought, we could get cutesy, but C.O.R.E Conversations matches up with everything we've been talking about. I think throughout this process, in this first year of doing this, we were talking, bringing in some people, local historians that have maybe been long time residents in the city that have a lot of history and historical background stories. Some other things you were maybe going to mention were maybe some city-related things, right?
Yeah, we can talk about upcoming projects, events, once we get into the summer with Castle, the pool, like street projects, fun days, Blues on Belgrade. You get all those events. You get the experts in, like our city engineer, public works director, police chief, local business leaders, things like that. There's numerous opportunities out there for us.
And it all matches up with that whole concept with our values of care for community, really trying to reinforce those things, outstanding service, just reinforcing and kind of putting out there what we're doing within the city for services for our residents. Yep. Respect for resources will come up, I'm sure, just here and there throughout the conversations, and equity. So just super excited about it. So I think just to get started, a little bit about yourself maybe. Just maybe some background where you maybe grew up, where you went to college or school, and then maybe just your background leading up into being our city administrator.
Yeah, so I grew up in the metro, primarily St. Paul till I was about 11, then Savage after that, and grew up right when Savage was first starting to grow. It was about 9,000 people, and now I think it's close to 30,000 or maybe more, but it was definitely a cool experience to see this small little town really grow. So that kind of piqued my interest in the local government. But, after high school, went to Iowa State and majored in engineering at the time. And I thought I like math, I was decent at it. But then once you got into like the advanced calculus, then it's like I got to find a different major. So then I switched to economics, and I thought, hey, this is a good kind of general degree you can get into business or government. And then after that, it's part of changing majors, changed colleges, went to the University of Minnesota and made that switch. So then finished out my undergrad there and started doing an internship in Scott County in their budget and finance office. And that's what really piqued my interest. And then it was right around 2006, and they were having, budget cuts at that time. Yeah. So they're like, well, we would try and hire you on full time, but we're like a hiring freeze right now. So then I started looking around and ended up getting my first job out in Clarkfield, Minnesota, which is by South Dakota.
That we haven't talked about. I didn't know it was Clarkfield. That's
yeah,
cool.
a little town, about 900 people, out by Granite Falls and Marshall. So, it's kind of a culture shock for me growing up in the metro, but I'm like, hey, if I want to do this, I got to start somewhere is kind of how I approached it. So spent about a year and a half there and ended up going to Gaylord after that, became their city administrator for about 8.5 years, and then started looking for the next opportunity and saw North Mankato was hiring a finance director. And at the time I was like, well, I have budgeting and accounting experience, but, I've been more of the city administrator. Yeah. So I ended up having a conversation with the administrator at the time, John Herenstein, and he's like, yeah, I think you do have a diverse background that would be beneficial here. So he kind of encouraged me to apply and eventually hired on. And after he left, then I'm like, well, now's the time to apply to become a city administrator again. And that's been about a year and a half now.
Wow.
So yeah, definitely enjoying it, different challenges and being a part of a growing city with lots going on.
Yeah, it's kind of typical. I mean, I think a lot of people really appreciate the small town atmosphere, right, where you get your start. But for some, it's nice to make that growth or that step up to maybe a larger city or maybe a mid-sized city like you're at now. And so that's kind of it. As an educator, that's a lot of what happens to our educators. You get some that start at Springfield or Mountain Lake or wherever, and then they move into a Mankato, and a lot of them do like to move up to the Edinas, Eden Prairies, Shakopees, and things like that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, now it's like I was 23 when I moved to Clarkfield, and I'm getting close to spend almost half my life in greater Minnesota now. It's like, grew up like 23 years in the metro basically, and now it's about 18, in greater Minnesota. And I feel this North Mankato region is such a great place because it's got a lot of amenities, for your family and employment opportunities, educational opportunities, but it's not too big where it's overwhelming,
I always thought I was a homer because I'm so into Mankato, North Mankato area, the greater area. And sometimes you think, it's just, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. It's just, that's my hometown and all that. But it's so cool to have it reinforced, especially now in elected office, to know that there's so many people that really have the same views of this area, and not just North Mankato, but this whole area, and just the unique opportunities for employment, for recreation, entertainment, and you're kind of 15, 20, 25 minutes from anything versus the metro. My daughter's got to drive 30 to sometimes 40 minutes just to get to her job coaching skiing down in Highland Hills from Maple Grove. So it can be a long drive.
Yeah.
How about, you're mentioning your job and things like that. How about family? What do you?
Yeah, I have a wife. We've been married 11 and a half years.
Congratulations for knowing that.
Yeah. And 2 kids, a boy he's almost 10, and February 12th is his birthday, and same as Abraham Lincoln. And remember that just because my dad pointed that out. Like, nice. He always has like these random facts, and right when he was born, he's like, "Oh, that's Abraham Lincoln's birthday." So perfect. And then a daughter, she's 7.5, and yep. So yeah, they're busy with hockey and soccer and all other sports they've tried here and there throughout the years.
Yeah, we talked. You're in the grind right now because I got my last one out of the house last spring. She graduated from West and going to Gustavus, and so we're kind of in that empty nest phase, and you're just going right through the grind right now.
Right.
But that's such a cool phase.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. How about any hobbies? Anything you like to do in your spare time?
Yeah, what I like to do is embrace the weather. So, I get outside as much as I can, whether it's walking the dog, going on runs. So I even ran outside this last weekend when it was 25 below wind chills. And ever since COVID, shut down the gyms, I've been not on a treadmill for 4 years now. And my record is 35 below wind chill, which I've figured out how to dress for it. It's just potential ice that's more of my concern these days. But
well, it's valid. My head coach Jim Bassett, who was a long-time track and cross country coach at West, his last big accident where he broke his leg or arm. Anyway, he slipped up by MSU running too on some ice, and so that's a valid
right.
point to be worried about that in the wintertime. So, well, very cool. I guess I can kind of knock in a little bit about myself.
Yeah, let's hear about you.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. 52 years in North Mankato area. I grew up, my whole life has been in North Mankato. A lot of people will know through election process and things like that that my great-grandfather, grandfather, and my dad, they started kind of out in that Mankato side. And my grandfather started an optometric business downtown Carlson Tillish, which is now Carlson Tillish, but used to be Optometric Vision Center on Broad Street. But yeah, eventually my grandpa somehow gravitated over to like the Rowcrest area for a house. And I mean, once he got that, I think he built a duplex over on Howard Drive, one of those cul-de-sacs. And then eventually I think he went back to Mankato with my grandma to Echo Street Apartments up by the hospital. But my parents and our family has been in North Mankato from Colony Court, I believe. It was when I was born, we were there. And then Jefferson Avenue. Yeah. Lots of great memories of being down there. And like I say, dragging pounds of sand in from the old sand pool before we redid it. Fishing and all those other great things. And so just lots of great memories that way growing up. Went to Monroe for a bunch of years, and then we moved to Hilltop. So I'd like to claim that, I really can appreciate both. There is a little diversity, a little difference between upper and north, and people have their pride in their neighborhoods. And I can proudly say that I've really got, pride in where I grew up and really just as much pride for where I'm at now up in the Forest Heights area. So, so that's a little bit just about that. Went to West High School, graduated from there, went to MSU. Like I said, a homer, been here forever. Got a master's at MSU too. Got K through 12 FIAD degree, got a master's in school health. But I was going for optometry. And I was, and there were some life things that happened. I happened to have, I can share it. I happened to had a first fiance. My wife knows that. And things happen, and life changes, and you just kind of go through some reflections on what's really important. And my dad actually talked me out of optometry, not because I wouldn't be good, just because he saw the potential in coaching and mentoring kids and stuff, and proudly got into that. Had to shift and take a ton of credits and get into the education field so I could dive into that. So it was a good thing.
And how long have you been doing that?
I'm getting, so far I've gotten my clock. I think that's if Mr. Peterson's watching, I've got my clock still. And then I've got my paperweight. I think that was for 25. So I'm on my way to 30. I think I'm a year away from 30, which is a bell. I think I get a bell next. Oh. So, close to 30 years. Wow. Long time. And
you've been coaching that whole time?
Yeah, actually, I was coaching. My coach hired me in college as my freshman year. I got to come back and start coaching junior high track and cross country, and that kind of spurred on a lot of it. But my parents made me work for my ski pass when I wanted to join the ski team. So that was my first teaching experience. Actually, was a junior in high school, coaching kids, coaching adults that are, 50, 60, 70 years old, coming out to learn lessons. And I'm a junior in high school teaching them how to ski, right? So I got thrown into it early, but had a knack for it. So it was kind of a natural little segue. So very excited about that. I do have my wife, lovely wife, Jen. She's got multiple sclerosis, and she lives proudly, not glad to have it, but just lives life to the fullest, and people love her. She's progressed slower than we were kind of thinking, which is good. But so we've been married 27 years, and we've got 2 daughters. I got a 23-year-old that's an engineer up at a medical device company in Maple Grove, and I've got the 18-year-old that's at Gustavus, and I think she might be majoring in business. We'll see. She's going to play softball for the local Great Coley Reese. Nice. So we're excited to see what happens with that this spring as a freshman. So
you going to go to a lot of those games like you did with the youth sports?
I'm hoping to. Yeah. They're going to have quite a few around here, especially the dome games early and stuff. So we'll be able to get to quite a few, which will be cool to have her local. Had the other one. Briggs played at Northwestern, so got that too. Sure. So we were able to watch the girls all the way through, which is very fortunate.
Yeah, so. Nice.
Let's segue on a little bit onto kind of the podcast, and I think for this one we're going to kind of focus on just some things maybe coming up. And I know we've got, what I'm super excited about is the 125th anniversary of City of North Mankato becoming incorporated, and we did a proclamation. I've got it right here, and show the ones that are going into view. And very excited. We went to the original site, and I got to look for the address again. It was
322 Wheeler.
322 Wheeler, and it was the house of O.E. Bennett,
Yeah.
right? The O.E. Bennett house.
Yep.
And I want to give a big shout out to Tom and Alyssa Jones for letting us be at their house to do that proclamation and highlight where we had the first council or the vote to incorporate the city of North Mankato. So they were so gracious to let us come and do a photo op in the front porch. And
yeah, they're really proud of the history they
Yeah.
have with that house and wanted to kind of showcase it as well.
Yeah.
So
and it's so cool. I mean, so, it's not everybody will get into the history early, but I think a lot of people will discover the importance of the history of North Mankato or their heritage and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool to be out in front of that house and give the proclamation, that we're going to celebrate that 125th anniversary proudly and
Yep.
celebrate the leaders that helped founded the city. And so with that, we actually have some pretty cool events. I think we have 4 main events, right, planned for the year?
So in honor of the 125th anniversary, we got some activities planned like quarterly throughout the year. So we did the proclamation on the date of the first city council meeting 125 years ago.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool to be at that location.
It wasn't that cold.
No, it was warmer than it was now. But then next event is on Friday, February 16th at 7 o'clock. We'll have a North Mankato history or trivia night. So essentially you can learn about or answer trivia questions related to North Mankato's history. It's a free event hosted by Radio Mankato. So there'll be all sorts of questions related to North Mankato.
That's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah. Then once we get into May, then we have a scavenger hunt and ice cream social. So planning for Friday, May 17th at Benson Park. Library will have a scavenger hunt with clues around the city and chance to win a grand prize, kind of all related to North Mankato history as well. Possible time capsule. There's a committee working on some of these events, so they're kind of fluid right now, maybe some subject to some change. Then once we get into the fall, we'll have some history tours and music in the park. Thursday, September 19th at Wheeler Park. You can check out the historic sites and some music in the park that evening. And then once we get into December, we're planning an old-fashioned Christmas celebration down at Spring Lake Park. Might be weather dependent. This past December wasn't good for a lot of winter activities, but planning for ice skating, maybe sledding, other things like that.
Any fireworks, Kevin?
Not related to these events, but I believe Fun Days is looking into fireworks this year.
We like that. We all like fireworks. Well, that's pretty cool. No, on the history tours, I know you'd mentioned that, and I was kind of just looking at our notes. Is it kind of a tour, like on-site tour kind of thing, or is it like is it a walking tour a little bit, or that kind of thing?
Yeah, 5 years ago when this was last done, it was more of a self-guided tour. There was a bus that was providing tours, but that bus is no longer in the area. It was kind of the double-decker one, if you remember seeing that around. But this will be more of a self-guided, just look at historic homes and buildings and stuff.
That'll be kind of cool. Well, yeah, we're excited for that, and just to celebrate the history of the city. And I know the last council meeting we were talking a little bit, and we have some research doing it, but just about even preserving that history, right? Like just what we're going to do to kind of, maintain some of the character and some of those old brick buildings and those historical markers.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it timed out well, but as part of the 125th discussion, there was talk about the city establishing a Heritage Preservation Commission, where a city has a separate committee, a commission that would oversee historic buildings and properties in the city. And it's been discussed off and on over the last many years, but now we're getting to the point where a lot of research was done. Council's kind of taking that all into consideration, but probably some more research on who are some of these other cities with these commissions, what's the staff involvement, citizen involvement, how are like the business owners responding to those kind of regulations and stuff. So more to come, maybe a citizen survey engagement opportunities for people that want to weigh in on having a commission like that in the city.
Yeah, and I think some other things maybe we can just quick touch on as we talked about that. I think we're kickstarting some other things like maybe a Parks Commission too. Is that right?
Yeah, as part of the city updating like their comp plan and our strategic plan, so we're getting a little closer into like specific parks. So comp plan is more a big picture. Now we're getting into individual like parks. So there's a parks plan steering committee that's been formed. They're going to look at all the city parks and kind of look at, what's here now, what should be here, how are things working, and kind of come up with the plan on what's going to be included for the future. And then that rolls into like budgeting for upcoming years. So just making sure you're responding to the needs of the citizens. And it's a pretty diverse group. You got kind of the environmentalists who want more natural parks. You got the daycare providers. You got the sports people. So it's a good mixture of folks on there.
Of people. Yeah. And from what I'm hearing, and I'm new to getting the feedback, right? So I feel like I'm connected to a wide range of people in the city and from different areas of North Mankato, upper, lower, and all over. But you do hear a lot about just how proud they are about the new trails we've put in and the parks we've put in and the diversity in the types of parks we have. So it's cool that we're kind of like getting this together to sort of kind of look at a long range plan for like how to maybe revitalize certain parks, to maintain them properly, and maybe add those amenities, which is pretty cool, both on the neighborhood level and those larger parks, right?
Yeah, because even like last fall, remember we were talking about that outdoor fitness court space, and it's like, well, that's a great idea, but maybe we should hold off on that, let this park committee kind of look at that further and see if it does make sense for the city to have something like that. Yeah,
those are great ideas. So going forward, I mean, we're not going to take up too much time on this first podcast, but going forward, I know some of the things that we've talked about. Anna gave me a little bit of a heads up on some of the ideas that she'd been thinking of, but I know some of the things, we want to bounce a lot of things off people through this podcast. So hopefully people find it diverse, right? And informative. So, I know a few things that I've bounced off people and yourself was like bringing in some people that have, again, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but people with some historical background, maybe some just good stories, but also maybe some funny little stories that people might not know about. Maybe some little
smashing beer bottles down at a park.
I wouldn't know anything about that. So, but yes, I did get in trouble from the law enforcement. Don't tell my father. Little stories, about the floods, about, growing up, as a kid, what was it like? Where were the parks at? Like I had an empty lot or two on Jefferson Avenue on the corner of Jefferson and Sherman when we moved into that house. And you think, at that time, how could there have been even empty lots? But there still were some empty lots in Lower North when we moved in the probably early 70s, so those kind of cool stories and things, from the past are going to be cool to see. But also, I know we're going to do some things with, like you said, we talked about earlier with the city, with like development opportunities and what's going on with that, with residential development.
Sure.
I know one of our priorities, and we talked about it last council meeting, was on some more affordable housing. I think that's an area we know we're deficient in that we're going to be hopefully addressing, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of looked at with the comp plan and looking at where that makes sense logically and geographically and all that. So
So, that on top of, highlighting local businesses. I mean, small businesses, larger corporations, people that have been investing in both, in restaurants, bars and grills, hotels, all those types of things, just kind of getting people to know, your community members and the people that are setting up shop here, and the people that have maybe homes in their homes, or businesses, I should say, in their homes and that kind of thing. So looking forward to kind of highlighting the diversity of our city and hopefully letting people know a little bit more of the behind the scenes, what's going on, right?
Yep. Kind of pull the curtain back a little, let them see everything that's going on and everything. So that's really kind of for the viewers of the first cast. That's hopefully the goal. And we're looking for ideas. If you've got,
some businesses, some individuals, other ideas for how we can share the wonderful aspects and the wonderful things we have to offer in North Mankato, throw them our way. Send me an email through my account. Send Kevin, Anna Brown, any of us. Send us your ideas, and we want to get as many people on as possible. We're going to start small. I don't think we're going to throw out 5 podcasts a month.
Baby steps,
but baby steps. But I'm hoping that we can get a lot of podcasts out there and really kind of highlight all the many things we have in the city. So looking forward to the future of this podcast. Hopefully, we'll dress up a little more, maybe have some North Mankato swag on the table, coffee cups, things like that, and share some more stories and highlight us a little bit better. So, yeah, do you have anything extra to add?
No, I think this is probably a good show for the first one, and we'll definitely keep growing from here. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for being on with me today, and hopefully we'll have you back again.
Yeah, hopefully.
And I know Anna's with us in studio today, but she's maybe a little shy, but we'll get her on camera eventually too. So, but no, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess that'll kind of wrap up the first edition of C.O.R.E Conversations with Mayor Scott Carlson, myself, and Kevin McCann today. We're looking forward to seeing you on our episode 2.
This has been C.O.R.E Conversations, a City of North Mankato podcast. For more information about city happenings, visit northmankato.com. Thanks for listening.